Hi, I'm Ludy.
And I'm Heidi.
And we are
the U-Haulers.
So,
So,
Pandemic 2.0.
Yeah, it is still going on.
Round 2.
So we live in LA and lockdown has happened again. We went into the purple.
In a big way.
Now we're talking about colors, everybody.
Purple.
Purple.
The sign of royalty now.
Yeah,
This is a sign of don't leave your house.
Yes, lockdown.
So, favorite parts of quarantine part 1 that we just got out of, and hardest parts.
Okay, so favorite parts I think were the fact that we were all here and safe and got to work from home and be around each other all the time. I saw my kids.
Which a lot of people hate that part.
Yeah, we talk about the fact that we're pretty lucky.
Yeah.
We like our kids, we like each other, still like each other.
Yeah.
We were pretty new then.
Yeah.
My kids weren't, they're 10.
They were new.
But we had fun. So
yeah.
when
we
you
felt,
say favorite,
we felt guilty because
Yes.
we liked it. But
we also didn't probably do it as hard as some people because we couldn't. Like, your job requires you to travel a bit more than other people's jobs.
in the beginning, we were like...
Yeah, lockdown. Well, okay, so favorite parts of that, though. We have a backyard.
Yeah.
We live close by to a school and had
it'd be empty and we could go and shoot
hoops and the kids could ride
their
bikes
and
yeah, because it was empty and no one was there. And
yeah, so
you?
Definitely the sunny weather. I wasn't locked in an apartment, even though I love my New York City, but I wasn't locked, in an apartment,
Right.
in a small quarters. Gotta go out and get fresh air.
Yeah.
In our own backyard.
Coffee in the morning was definitely a favorite.
Yeah, I loved our morning coffee. We just found ways to appreciate, let's find, I think a lot of people did, let's find things like a podcast, or let's start writing, or let's find new career aspirations, or let's do new projects together, and so we found things to do together and our own things that we wanted to do to further our creativity and our careers. So that kind of gave us time to do it and motivation and,
Yeah.
And then we got to work on each other and spend time together and do all the new stuff and fun of a new relationship. And so, yeah, I think we just, we chose to have morning coffee be really exciting, instead of being frustrated, And then LA went into a very, of course, it's warm weather, so eating outdoors.
Yeah. We did that a lot.
Yeah, and the beach got opened up, and so we would go, we're 10 minutes from the beach, we'd go there. So we had a lot of, we did a lot of eating by the water and outside as much as possible. And then we got to go back to New York, finally. I got to finally go home, to that home, and that also eats outdoors a lot, and the whole city feels, so yeah, so what was the hardest parts for you?
Strangely, the fact that there's no gym, that we can't go to church.
I was going to say, that's my number one, is gym.
Yeah.
We've been doing the home workouts.
And they suck.
It's just...
No, they're great, but, man, they're just...
I miss
There's nothing like going in and knocking it out with your machines and then just being done. And
we ordered weights. That's going to take 4
We're still waiting.
months. So we got me a bike for my birthday. My birthday's in June, and it came in December. So 6 months on a bike.
Mm-hmm. We're still waiting for the weights.
We ordered weights the first week of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't gotten them. I'm trying to find out if I ever got my money back. They weren't cheap.
So we ordered them again, and they told us it was 4 months out now to get them. So
we ordered them twice, and they didn't show up.
Yeah.
Then we got ones that were not the weight they told us they were, so they were of no use because we need heavier weights. And then now 4 months out, so still waiting on those weights.
Yeah. And I've been on a pretty big transition journey for my health, and I had some big inflammation thing that was going on, and so I've lost 75 pounds.
Yeah, proud of this one.
So it would be nice to have weights. But yeah, that was hard. Church, I think church not being able to go.
We've been enjoying it online. We go, do that every Sunday, but yeah, community. you know.
Yeah. I mean, we've
We've
very...
been doing like Zoom dates with people,
Yeah.
and then when we could do, you know, things, we had our little pod of, you know.
Yeah, our pod up here is pretty great. The moms from the school and stuff like that are good.
So do what you can, right? So yeah, so, and then kind of what are goals going forward? How are we gonna do? I mean, now we're like in this, right? No more like, oh, I might go back to New York. This has been a fun little.
Oh, you mean us? You're in us.
I'm in us. I'm in us.
Yeah,
fun
big
little,
news.
Fun little trial. You know, oh, this is fun. It's the real thing now.
Yeah, I met the whole family.
Yeah.
So
we had them quarantined for like ever, and then they had to come here and quarantine with us in our little like
stayed in the house
group.
Yeah.
So we could do them. Yeah. So she met the
whole
family.
family.
I've never taken anyone home to meet the family.
Yeah.
Ever.
So it's a big deal.
And so it wasn't just first person they're meeting, but then she also has kids, and obviously, she's a woman to the conservative Christian family. So we did that, and it went well. I mean, what's not to love? So they all loved her, loved the kids. Already multiple invites back. They want to see us again, so that's good news.
Yeah, and it was great for us.
We didn't get kicked out of the family. So.
My kids and I haven't had like a big family Christmas in like 6 years.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's just been the four of us for Christmas, and then
we spoiled.
Oh. Yeah.
I spoiled her rotten.
I really did get spoiled.
You did a good Christmas.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. We did a lot of traditions. I lost my mom, my beloved mentor and mother, and so we did a lot of her traditions, you know, and it was all just the family in here cooking together and traditions, and we had a talent show, and we stocking stuffers and lots of presents and tree and family card game nights and
yeah, it was great.
Devotions, and we did. Every meal a different couple cooked, and then people would pitch in and help, and then everyone had a time that they had to cook and a meal and a menu. My sister's way organized, so she planned out every activity, every menu, every who's cooking, who's kitchen duty.
Which is great. I mean, when you have that many people here, you know, kind of just
stuck.
It's really good to have someone who's planned the whole thing. Yeah, it was great. It worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
So.
And because of the times, they had to stay a long time, so she was meeting the family because they can't leave. So
yeah, they were, and we were just here. We did go to the beach one day because the beach is still open. So we all masked up and then
quarantine little party. So yeah, so that was how we did it.
And then you said plans, like what do you?
Yeah, so I had to change careers. That was interesting because I lost a bunch of contracts when the pandemic hit, and then I changed location where all my contacts were. So I mean, I'll still go back and do fashion week and things, but as far as full-time modeling, you know. So I am opening my own production company and have a partner.
Which we're really excited about. It's pretty exciting.
And he's amazing. He's Oscar-nominated writer and award winner. So I got real fortunate on my partner. Yeah. And we already have one film about to get distribution, and we're writing a film and already have interest in that film. And it's on a true story about my family, which is something I've always wanted to do. Kind of a big deal thing that happened in my family. And so, so we're writing that and have interest in that. And we're already a quarter way done with that script. Starting the production company and producing and writing. And then I just finished filming a movie, and it's out. It's in post-production. It should be out in a year. And then I now have 2 more movie roles coming up. So that's exciting. So, and my agent's out here. So so hitting that front. So
yeah, I'm also making some big transitions in my career. I had previously run my own firm and decided that the pandemic just hit us pretty hard, and so it was time to transition into something different. Still looking, so not sure what that is yet.
Well, lots of aspirations, and it was perfect timing because they kind of got to end on a successful note and keep it running where she's still involved. And the firm, gets to
firm's still gonna go.
Yeah,
and I'm just stepping away, so.
But still have involvement.
Right.
And still a part of that, and also gets to do other stuff that she loves, which she's kind of been wanting to try and do and go forth and.
Yeah. But some big changes, so
bigger and better. So we're excited. Yeah, so, I mean, I think, what do you think? Because we keep hearing about, like, oh, your relationship, and this is the big test of your relationship, and, and this is, really where it shows, because so many people aren't going to make it, and the divorce rate, and, all this, right? And if you make it through the pandemic. So what do you think, with so many people, especially because in your line of work, that a lot of couples didn't make it, and you got a lot of calls. She was doing family law, and so she heard a lot about, and employment law, but she heard a lot about the breakups, and even friends that didn't make it in their relationships, So, I mean, us being so new, a lot of new relationships definitely,
right,
were tested. So what do you think was, I mean, not our secret, just, I mean, what did we do right? Like, what do you think, why did it work for us?
I mean, I think if I had to say, the biggest thing that we have going for us is just that we aren't afraid to really talk about everything, right? Yeah. So even things that
are uncomfortable.
Yeah, or like we know are gonna go badly, right? Like we had some sticky stuff that we just worked through, and I'm divorced. I've been married before, clearly, and and having come through that experience, I think the other piece of that, right? It's not just communication, because I think people focus so much on like, oh, you have to be good at communicating. You really have to talk through everything, and that's all right? That's correct. But I think the other piece of that is learning when to kind of hold some of it in, kind of work some of your own stuff through.
Time if the person's not ready to talk about it, right?
Right. And I mean, especially like in quarantine, learning how to, because I think that one of the biggest mistakes people make is they're like, well, we talk all the time, we communicate all the time, we're communicating. And I'm like, yeah, stop communicating for a while. Like, go to your separate corners. And sometimes in quarantine, I think that's why people were like, how, where do we go? We're on top of each other all the time. And I think you and I practiced very intentional conversations. So we'd have a conversation if it wasn't going well, or if we were going to say something that, you don't get to take things back, right? Like once they're said, they're out there, they're done. And so you have to realize like, okay, the heat of the moment is going to make me say something that I can never take back, right? So
and you're really good with that.
Yeah, you just move on to the next thing. Like
very much like, I don't want to say something until I've thought it through. I can't take it back. And,
So, I mean, I think, sometimes, and there's like this thing too with litigators where they always say, the best litigators are the ones that know when to stop talking. Because often, you go into a courtroom and you'll be winning, and then they kind of get into their groove and they just keep talking, and all of a sudden,
out of the win.
Right. And then the judge is like, no, hang on.
Yeah.
And so, I think, honestly, I think that is, we had a level of honesty that some people would call brutal. And I also think that we had the ability to like be in the middle of a hard conversation and transition to, okay, so what's for dinner?
Yeah.
And can we cook together, and being in the same space, and being comfortable with the fact that like we're gonna put a pin in that, and maybe we'll come back to it, or maybe we'll come back to it in 3 months when it's not gonna be painful, or when and I just disagree with don't go to bed angry. I think you should, because I think in the morning it's gonna feel better.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then it's bigger, right?
Yeah.
But if you go to bed and you wake up and you feel better, like...
Right. Yeah, and I mean, I've never lived with anyone. I went and obviously stayed. I had a girlfriend that lived a couple hours from me, and so I would go like every other week and stay with her, for several days at a time, or I've done that. Or like someone local where I'd go over there a lot, but I've never lived with anyone, never been married, and so obviously... This has, been, I mean, I'd never had a year-long relationship either. And we passed the year mark now, so, yeah, we made it. I think before it'd been 9 months was my longest. And then, like, not really done, so kind of go back and forth with each other after the breakup for another few months, so that'd be like, maybe hit a year in that way, and then, or I'd get back with exes, so maybe if you add it up all the time. But I've never just stayed, So that was big, but I've also never had this kind of compatibility before.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't ever say enough of what a difference that has made.
So use more words. Like when you say compatibility, what do you mean?
So you always hear people say like, oh, find someone that just loves you for you or doesn't want to change you, or, you know, even the things that maybe you don't like about yourself, you know, those kind of things. You hear these phrases, right? And you're like, yeah, yeah, of course. But I've never, I mean, I wake up every day and I'm just me. I get out of bed and I'm me. I go to bed, I'm me. I handle, I mean, everything is just, I'm not trying. And so it's not hard because I'm just being myself. And then you like it. And so then and you go on and on about all these great things I do. And I'm always like, I'm not doing anything. Because that's the good part, is it's like breathing, because it's just me being me. Versus in the past, I've had to work so hard, and it, you know, because it's just constant miscommunication, or you feel like you're communicating very clear, and yet it's just going like, you know. And so I'm constantly trying to change this or make this better, improve it. Not because the person's like mean or being like, oh, I want to change you. It's just that you don't want it to be hard, and they don't want it to be hard, and neither of you know why you can't get on the same page when you're both great people and really love each other. And so I just felt like it was supposed to be hard, because that's what I knew. And hard's maybe a dramatic word, because, you know, it's not that I didn't have great relationships, but it never was just like breathing, where I just woke up and was just accepted for exactly who I was. And not only accepted, but celebrated. Like, you celebrate who I am. You celebrate things that you shouldn't, like, that are like weird about me, and you like love them. And things that I'm sure should be annoying. But to feel not just like accepted, where I don't have to worry about it, and appreciated, but celebrated, it's like a really big deal. And so I just gotta enjoy it. And that's like, you know, because I used to always think like, well, why am I not just single then? I love being single, I enjoy it. And if it's gonna be hard and I can't just be my, you know, why not just be single? But now I get to just be me and have a partner and a companion that just, you know, adds, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, it's pretty great when the person is just value add, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which I feel the same with you, right? Where like life is hard, you know, and challenging, right? It's beautiful. We've built a beautiful life, and we have a beautiful life. We're very blessed, but there's challenges. Clearly, you know, quarantine and job transitions, and you know, being unemployed for stretches and things like that have been difficult. But I think what's been great is that, you know, I too just feel like it's okay. Like, we're okay, and we're moving through it, and we're talking through it, and we have a plan, and you just add value. It doesn't feel like I'm carrying another burden. Like, I have another thing I have to kind of handle, right? And I've been in relationships where, like you said, like, two great people, but you just can't, and so then you're handling this thing between you instead of just enjoying and resting in that thing between you. So I think that is the difference.
Yeah, and you would have, like in my relationships, I would have good times, right? And I would just hang on them, because of course there were good times. I wouldn't have stayed if it wasn't,
100%.
you know. But every time I'd have a good time, I would just relish it and hang on it, because I didn't know, I was just worried about, you know, when all of a sudden the next miscommunication or argument, or, you know, like, can it just stay this way, and how long can it stay this way? And it was always almost like a panic, like wanting it to always be that way, but just knowing that's not possible. And then when the things would go bad, just hanging on to that next good time would come. Versus I just feel like it's, you know, I mean, obviously we have hard times, but it's, you know, every day I wake up happy, you know, and that's a big deal, you know.
Yeah, it is a big deal.
So, yeah, I mean, every day I wake up and, like, you know, I sleep late. So she's gone out of the bed when I wake up. And I'll, like, turn and you'll be gone, and I, you know I'm going to roll out and come out here to, you know, you and the kids. And if they're, we share custody, so when they're home. And I'm always just happy to get to walk out and, like, you know, join you guys. And I'm excited and, you know, almost like sad, but I got to get out there, you know. So that's exciting, like,
Yeah.
So.
No, it's great. And I think, you know, we've talked before about love languages, and that is one thing that we do have in common in terms of how we communicate the way that we love someone. And that makes a big difference, because there's a lot of comfort in that, you know, and that is a huge way that miscommunications come up. You know, like,
I wonder if that was one of the problems before, because
me too.
I mean, one of my main relationships, that I really wanted to work, and her almost her lowest love language was quality time, which is my number one.
Right.
And it was like her second to last, and I really felt like that was one of our major problems. And so that's, you know, the fact that we have the same is pretty big deal.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
And we didn't know that, like, when we were kids. We had no idea that we had the same love languages or we were compatible, like, when we met as
No, I mean, I think, you
friends.
know, it's, I mean, not to be hokey, but I feel like a lot of what's happened was very divine. Like, you know, it feels very miraculous that you got locked down here, and that, you know, we've joked about how this might have gone differently. You know, if you had gone back to New York instead of coming here and getting locked down, and, you know, not only what that would have been like for each of us individually, but like, I mean, we kind of think at this point we would have ended up together because we feel like we're gonna be together, and that's the plan now.
I think that was definitely the plan. I think no matter what, I mean, I'm a scenario kind of person, so I've played out so many scenarios. You don't know that?
I mean, I know you're a scenario person. I just didn't know you had scenarios. Like, now I want to know, please.
Well, I thought you knew, but like, okay, tell me. I played out, like, had I not, well, some of them I've told you, like, if I had not hit on you that night.
Yeah.
So I was here because she invited me, so that was going to happen. But if I would just, you know, kept it the friendship thing, we just watched the movie, and, you know, you had already said if I didn't do that, you weren't going to say anything, even though you had thought about it. So if I just went to Reading, as planned, went back to New York, everything is planned.
Yep.
I played that out, and it's still, I end up back here, like, in everything, in those ways, everything I've played out, you know, I mean, short of, you know, because I did shoot the movie, and I did meet up with Dawn, and I did hear about you, you know, those things were going to happen, they happened. So even if, you know, I hadn't made the choices past then, it's still, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but I still think, you know, that that the timing of it, right? I mean, down to the fact that, like, you were here the week that my daughter had emergency surgery, and you were here. Like, those are the kinds of things where we definitely did not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the difference of, you know, I mean, what we believe God's perfect timing, right? And it was, you know, put together to bring the best of each situation for us. And, and, you know, and even, I mean, I would have loved to be in New York City during the pandemic, just because New York really, like, gets through everything together, and it's just a city that will, you know, always, you know, find its way through and be better and stronger. And I believe that about New York. And, you know, they were the hardest hit, and they will be the biggest one to rally, you know, and get strong. And so, yeah, the banging of the pots and getting to do that, but it would have been, you know, a whole different experience, as I said, to be locked in an apartment with this gorgeous view, but I'm stuck in there, you know, with this tiny little balcony versus, you know, a backyard and a house. And you know, all my friends were troopers going through that, and I, of course, could have done it, but to be here and, you know, have this whole new experience that was exciting during a really rough time, you know, and have that to focus on in the family. I mean, you know, that was very, you know, like, because I had been really, really sick, you know, right before that. And may have had COVID, may have not, you know, they weren't testing then, but I was really sick, and it was scary. And so the timing was just so crazy, you know, how it all happened, and that my cat got cancer and was dying at that exact moment. So I came out here, and then you told me not to get on the plane at the 15 minutes before I left for the airport, and you didn't even know that's what was happening. She thought I was not leaving for, like, I don't know, another day or
no, a couple hours. But
so it just kind of worked out how it was supposed to.
Yep.
But one of the differences between us, though, I would say, is, which a lot of people relate probably more on your side, is the pandemic in a lot of ways did hit you hard, as far as, like, you know, and was scary, and, you know, and, like, there was anxiety around it, and, you know, and especially your mom, and to me it didn't, and so that was definitely a difference between us, you know? And so you want to talk about that a little?
Sure. I mean, I struggle with anxiety in general. I have generalized anxiety, and you know, I've worked really hard to get to a healthy place with that. But the pandemic definitely was something that, like, you know, I would take each news of, like, a close COVID diagnosis, or, you know, my uncle passed away from COVID, or, you know, each time something would come like
close to home.
Yeah, I would really panic, and I would feel very.
I mean, we had to have her stop watching the news as closely, like not waking up and reading the news as much, because that's the first thing she does, and then it would really
set the tone for the day, and it made it really hard. But I think what was great about the different, like you being calm, right, is that like I trust you, so I could sort of take my cues from you, and you know that whole "fake it till you make it" sort of phrase. I couldn't fake it, right? Like I was so panicked and so anxious, and of course, you know, my son has been diagnosed with asthma. Like I have asthma. Like I just kept thinking, like, oh my gosh, all the worst cases are in our family, but I would just take my cues from you, like, okay, but nobody has it right now, and we're healthy, and today's a good day, and
because my motto is, it just kind of has always been, like, I don't panic till it's time to panic, kind of thing. So if we're healthy today, I don't want to waste precious life panicking about what it's like when we're not healthy, you know, or if we do get it, because God forbid we do get something catastrophic, that's going to, you know, we're going to have to go through all that. So why do it early when it may never happen, you know? Because life is short, and if there's one lesson I've learned in this life, because I've lost more people than I, you know, care to count, that are close to me, and you know, life is short, and so I don't want to borrow trouble, so to speak. So I kind of always would, you know, just calmly, you know, say, okay, but let's, you know, look at the positive side, let's count our blessings, let's look at where we are, let's take the reality and fact, you know, separate, and then worry about what we need to worry about, you know, because I don't want to ever minimize it, but
right, we took it seriously, and I think we took the pandemic seriously. We wore masks. We, whenever we could avoid, you know, being in public spaces in close proximity, we did. So it wasn't that we were being reckless, but I think being around you sort of enabled me to just be like, all right, let's dial this back and kind of make choices. Same, right? Like where it's like, let's just ground ourselves in like what is real today, right? Everybody's healthy, everyone's here, everyone's okay, and that helped a lot, for sure. So I mean, you know, I cannot wait for this to be over, clearly, but again, I feel, you know, as compared to so many other people, we really
and we're healthy, and you know, we know people that a lot of people have had it and that aren't, and so our hearts and prayers got to them, and you know, and it does hit close to home, you know, because one thing is the news, then when it starts to be in your family, you're like, oh, you know.
And we've had multiple family members contract it, and thankfully so far, you know, only my uncle who had a heart transplant. I mean, like he was sort of the
fear of that if he gets it, you know.
They talked about it. Like he was the person they were talking about. Older, had a heart transplant, like wasn't super healthy, was on rejection meds. I mean, just not to minimize again the tragedy that his death was, but
it was what everyone was scared of, right?
Yeah. So, you know, and the other people that we know that have had it have recovered fully, and so, you know, we feel really blessed.
Yeah, blessed is a big word.
Yeah,
I agree. So that's us in pandemic 2.0. Hopefully there won't be a 3.0.
Ugh. Bite your tongue.
Yeah.